we dream on our own a lot, but these dreams come true when we actually put people together, because a lot of our dreams are big projects, and big projects come with a lot of people usually. So not to sort of forget that that's part of it. So build a community, build some relationships and friendships, and keep those dreams alive between yourselves together. And then those dreams can come true a lot faster, as well as in such a happier, more fulfilling way.
Okay, I'm so tickled. You know why? Because every now and then in life, we meet people, well, that move us to somewhere we weren't already on our own path to find organically. They give us shortcuts. So today, I'm super excited about today. I get to introduce you to one of the most powerful women that I've ever met in my whole life, that affected my life on a personal journey that is at the core of why we're even here today on Believe Boulder. This gorgeous woman that we're going to visit with today is one of life's biggest inspirations. She empowers beautiful art. She has an incredible craft at finding gifted people and making sure the world gets to know they're there. Today, we're going to explore with a woman that helped me to believe that I could be something and somebody that I wasn't just the day before. And, we're going to go visit today. We got a chance to visit with Dr. Cynthia Hsiung is who we get to visit with. Cynthia, thank you.
Aw, hi, Scott.
Hi.
Hi.
You know, I said earlier that there's these people every now and then that enter our lives. And allow me, for those listening, Cynthia, incredible producer, a woman of media. That's how I got to meet her. She was a producer at Warner Brothers. And I'm sure, Cynthia, I can't wait to explore that world, because I think so many of us who have that Hollywood dream, we want to find our space on how to make it. And Cynthia, you have made it. And not only have you made it through Hollywood, but you found some of Hollywood's most strongest talent that has expanded over the decades. My goodness. And I can't wait to explore how that person and how you help that person to find a voice, and how you help me, Cynthia, to find a voice. Can we go back a little bit in your world? And then I'd love to share a little fun story. But for our listeners that haven't had the beautiful chance of knowing you yet, and how many of us who are listening have probably been affected by watching one of Cynthia's shows over the years that she's been directly involved with. And so, Cynthia, how did you start, my wonderful friend? How did you get involved with Hollywood?
Oh, gosh. I think there was always a bit of a show or story or performer type of person in me, and I didn't have a way to figure out what that meant professionally, because I grew up in a very not entertaining type of or creative type of environment. Although I don't want to criticize my parents, but they always pushed things like math and science and professions that just didn't seem like a fit for me. My dad was a professor at New York University. My mother was a mathematician at the United Nations. So this was an environment that kind of said education and pick a practical profession, Fortune 500 company, that kind of thing. And it just didn't seem to fit. So I kind of just naturally went towards the arts. And my mother always said, that's a hobby. That's not a profession. And somehow I just kept doing the things that brought me joy anyway. It got me in trouble at home, but it brought me joy. And I ended up in television, of all things. I did have a brief stint acting as a teenager on stage in New York. I also started out doing ballet. So these things were the areas that really I kind of naturally went towards. And then when it came time to choose a profession, I kind of ended up trying very hard to still do what I loved, but do it in a way that my family would accept it. So somehow that moved me into this space of producing, which was a little more practical, but still creative. And that's kind of where I continued.
Well, I love that. So please, I'd love to unpack a little bit about that. Cynthia, wow. Your family background is incredible. We all show up in life so differently, and I think many of us get influenced through family, and they help to shape and design how we might supposed to be later in life. And I love that you found out that your desires trump that. I think a lot of listeners here today with their dreams might be living that similar story where your family might have a different idea of what your success, well, has the right and what it should look like. Life is full of opinion, especially family. And I love that you allowed yourself to go beyond somebody else's opinion, finding a path, because your passion has allowed you to do some super cool things. And I want to start where all the fun is. So you're a New Yorker, you're 16 years old, you're just a beautiful teenager there on the stage, finding a space to play in. And then later you found a stronger space as a producer producing productions. And allow me, where, Cynthia? Were we still in New York? Did you make it here to Hollywood? And if you made it here to Hollywood, Cynthia, what brought you here?
Yeah, so I was brought up in New York City, and I started at HBO and MTV, where they had main offices in New York, so I ended up there. And I was in an area called development at first. And that was an area where you looked at all the ideas and you tried to develop them further, but you didn't actually get your hands dirty making it. You kind of were part of the early stages. And it was a little bit more like an office-y role where you got exposed to a lot of creative things, but then ultimately, when the decision was made to make that show, it was handed over to a different department. And that was the department that I was like, but I want to make the stuff. So little by little, I found ways to ask my boss and things if I could get more involved. And luckily, I had a great boss at MTV Networks when MTV was this big network.
Yes.
And she trusted me to go back and forth between departments where she'd kind of like, I'd be on loan to the production department for a few months, and then I'd go back, which was the most insanely perfect position. And it was kind of because I just spoke up and said something about it. And so I was allowed to do that. And then after I did more productions, then I had the incredibly fortunate accident of essentially being laid off. I was part of this. Yeah, I was part of this reorganization there. Not unusual in the industry at all. And I was one of those people where my job was being eliminated, but I thought that's great in a way because I wanted to do productions more. And luckily, because I made the connections at MTV, I was hired to work freelance as an associate producer on MTV's Rock and Jock Basketball. And that kind of also got me into LA because that show was shot in LA. So that kind of got me to travel for work, and I got exposed to everything that got my hands dirty, from working with the celebrities to helping the executive producer make all the creative decisions, working with the writers and the director. So all of this was just the exposure I wanted. And then I moved to LA when I really wanted to follow the path of storytelling, of narrative storytelling. So New York gave me the great exposure to production, but I wanted to follow the path of storytelling, and I loved action adventure, sci-fi. Don't ask me why. I just did. This was the 90s. Yeah, but this was the 90s where it was not thought of as the cool genre to be in love with.
I loved it.
I know. But I had to kind of hide my hidden geek at the time. It was not thought of as this cool thing. And I'm a woman, and it wasn't like an area that women were known for. So I really had to figure out what that meant for me. And I had no job, no apartment, no car even. And I just decided to take the big leap and I moved to LA.
How old were you at this time, please, Cynthia? What time in life was this moment, please?
29.
29,
Yeah.
a big time in life. So
Yeah.
that was the jump to go from New York to LA?
Yeah, it was. And
Okay.
it was on faith completely. And, I kind of came over to LA and then decided, what had worked for me in New York from time to time was temping, which is when you have an agency that you join and they test you on how good your typing is, how good you are at communication skills. And then they place you whenever a company might need a temp for a day, a week, a month. And so I joined a temp agency in LA and they placed me and I got some work right away, which basically paid the bills. Meanwhile, I was looking for my dream job. So I kept doing more and more freelance productions whenever I could, networking, meeting people, connecting the dots of who knows who and who's who and who does what and where. And once those dots got more and more connected, the world of entertainment is actually quite small. Only once you get in, though, and realize it. And then I started to get referred. I started to get recommendations for my work. And then little by little, I kept finagling my way into action adventure. And I met a director who had just done a pilot called Young Hercules, which was for Universal. It was a spinoff of Hercules and Xena, the two series that were the biggest action adventure series at the time. And I got connected to this company called Renaissance Pictures, and they brought me on to be the producer and ran the show for Young Hercules.
Well, you know what's so fun about that one. So here we go. And I can't wait to unlock that story a little bit because you start to understand why I shared earlier. Isn't this amazing? So here's Cynthia growing up in a family that had ideas of something else. It's something completely off than creative art stuff. And there's Cynthia doing it anyway, but not just doing it. So please, doing it in New York, starting at the beginning stages of it, like many of us entering an industry. Cynthia, may I please? What age did we start the HBO MTV? When did the age, was it immediate? Was it 20? How old, knowing 29 was LA? How old was the beginning?
Yeah. Well, the very beginning was straight out of college. I had gone overseas for college. I had gotten an art history degree, which my family wasn't very pleased with, but I came back to New York and I'm thinking, okay, I've got this art history degree. I have two choices, museums and auction houses. So I started to work for Christie's auction house and I thought, oh, well, this is good. It's like business. It's the business of buying and selling art. This should kind of fit in a little bit with the idea of something kind of bridging the two areas, but I realized that wasn't my thing. It just wasn't bringing me the joy that I had hoped for, although I met lifelong friends there who I'm still
and you really are.
Yeah,
I mean, I see you visit with these people. You know what's so interesting? So here it is just happening. You're doing it. You're doing it in New York. You're starting an action adventure series just after Xena and Hercules, which was one of my favorites, both. I'm definitely a 90s action adventure hero lover, show watcher for sure. And Young Hercules, definitely. I love that one. And Cynthia, that one did really, really, really well. And I'll never forget this story you shared with me about the moment that made that show so pivotal and how it was really your event one of many of your event windows happened in that window. And remember, everybody, please, this is Cynthia. This is Cynthia who's working in a MTV, HBO. They're doing the things, going into production back and forth, getting flavoring. Now you're working with one of the most, please, who were you working with during Young? Wasn't it Sam? Who was that?
Oh,
that
I think you're referring to Ryan Gosling.
Yes. That for sure is one of them. But there is a producer that produced that show, a big name that you've worked with. You worked with many big names. And I love that you just mentioned Ryan Gosling, because we all start our acting careers somewhere. And Cynthia, you were his. You were a strong part of how he entered the world outside of his dancing routine on on that one show. I remember, All Stars.
Disney. Yeah. He did a bunch of things before, but this was his first leading role. And he was 17 years old. The other person you might be referring to is Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi.
I was.
Yeah, he and Rob Tapert were the executive producers. It was their company that did Hercules and Xena and then Young Hercules. And when Young Hercules was a pilot, which was directed by that person I met, and then he referred me over. And what happened was the pilot had another actor. That other actor last minute dropped out, decided he didn't want to do the series. And we were something like a month, 6 weeks before we were going into production for 50 episodes of Young Hercules in New Zealand, and the lead actor drops out. So we had to go into massive, crazy, intense recasting mode. And we must have had 250 actors. I don't even know. It was like this crazy number of actors. And seeing so many, and at that age, we needed a young actor, and it's very hard to find a experienced young actor because they're young by definition. So we were scouring everywhere looking for someone. We had a wonderful casting director who brought in many different candidates. And finally, at one point, we were really exhausted looking. We thought we had found our final few. And then she pushed for us to see another round, which was great on her. And we did. And then Ryan came in the room and with a bunch of other young actors. And I just remember after watching all these auditions, so many, Ryan comes in and he does this thing with his hands, which I'll never forget. He just sort of did but the weird part was, here I am watching the audition and my body started to move with his suddenly. And I thought, okay, I don't know what just happened, but this one's different. And he came up to me, shook my hand after, looked me straight in the eye. I was like, this is my guy. And I was the producer. I was not the executive producer at this point. So there were a couple of levels above me. And I had to really fight for this guy. And I do remember there was a lot of resistance, actually. There was a lot of different thoughts as to why not him. He was actually one of, if not the youngest of all of the actors that we saw. He was very, 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 very thin. We're talking like 6'1" and 120 pounds. I mean, he was really thin.
The opposite of what you visualize Hercules to be.
The opposite,
should be
right?
Big and muscular and already big.
Right. So my kind of response to that, when I got he's too skinny, I'd say, but his acting will make you believe he will turn into the adult Kevin Sorbo Hercules. And so, so I would say these things. I'd say, yeah, but look at his hands and feet. They're big, like a puppy's paws. He will grow into Hercules, so I kept fighting all of the negativity on it. And after what I always say is 4 levels of executives, which is true. I had to fight through 4 levels of executives. He was finally cast. I was given the green light. Okay, he's our guy. Great. Everything's great. Not great. He's 17 years old, and that goes against the union. So another hurdle all of a sudden. And we are like a couple of weeks out from production. It's crazy.
55 episodes.
50 episodes. Yeah. And so here I am again going, what do we do? We have to bring in the other actors again and whatever. But luckily I got a studio executive who was a really brilliant attorney. She scoured through everything for 48 hours, didn't sleep. And I was right there answering my phone with her every time she would call me. And we found a little loophole. And that loophole was Ryan is Canadian. And so we were able to get around the United States union issues by hiring him straight from Canada to New Zealand. So we were able to get around that one.
You know what? There's proof. Okay, so let's pause there. So there you go. So here's somebody that doesn't fit an organic mold, but somebody that believes they have the right to be there so strongly that everybody else is saying no, but your belief kept the story going. You involve somebody, and here's proof, everybody. Did you hear that? Here's what I've learned. No is simply the path to yes. We sometimes start from no only to find yes on the other side, but it's hard to find it if we don't continue the journey forward. Cynthia, you just said, Scott, I was on the phone for hours. We went back and forth 48 hours. And did you hear what she said? So out of all of these obstacles, she found a path of yes, you can. And so shall you in life. Why? Because yes, you can. How? Because you don't let somebody shut your light off. Life is full of opinions, and sometimes the one paying with the dollars is the one that's going to matter. But just know it's simply an opinion, and yours is valuable also, and it's the ones that you keep alive want. Cynthia wanted young Ryan Gosling to be young Hercules. He don't look like Hercules, but that's why he's young. He's going to grow into Hercules. It made so much sense. His talent touched her instantly. Did you hear that too? My beautiful friends in the Hollywood world trying to make it. Here's the secret, and I'll tell you a few of them on the journey. Cynthia's the inspiration for many of these. Yeah, she just gave it to you. What was Ryan? He was unique. Why? Because he was authentic in his joy in the moment, and he did something because his joy tickled him to do it. His was raising his hands in some movement activity. It disrupted the eyes of the producers that are constantly watching videos and videos of blonde, beautiful people. It gets beige after a minute. Don't let yourself be beige trying to be who you think they want to see. Be you. Whatever you are, trying to make it in Hollywood, what I've learned is be you. You is who they want to meet. I don't mean to disrupt, but I just love it. You say so much, Cynthia, and there's so much living inside of that for dreamers. Miss Cynthia Hsiung, moving her gorgeous self out here to LA from New York, working on one of the biggest shows of the time, and then breaking all the rules to the biggest executive producers in Hollywood and not letting their no tell you no. You're re-guiding them back to yes, and created one of the most successful shows in Hollywood during that era and catapulted Ryan Gosling's career, and his acting career began because Beautiful You saw a beautiful light in him that allowed him to find a voice and a space that organically wasn't there for him, but maybe it was this whole time. You guys just had to find it. They needed you, Cynthia, to get your gorgeous self out of New York and bring yourself to LA and make one of the most successful series in the adventure series. Young Hercules, definitely one of my favorites. So thank you. That's just one of your fun times. I mean, I met you. I got the chance, everybody. I got the chance to meet Cynthia. Well, she was working, if I'm correct, Cynthia, you were at Warner Brothers at the time.
Yeah.
And you were a producer at Warner Brothers. And I met Cynthia because she was investing a deeper footprint in LA, purchasing real estate. And this was during the time. And Cynthia thought, I don't know what she thought, but I'm guessing she thought she deserves to be here more. She bought a house and I met her professionally through that. And through that, Cynthia got to meet me. We met each other.
Yeah.
And you know what? You've made such a significance in each time that you've showed up in different moments in life. And that was a fun one to play with because most of us know Ryan Gosling and we all start our career somewhere. Cynthia, you kicked off mine. I'm on this podcast, my beautiful friend. You love to find beautiful people and invite stages. For those listening, it was Cynthia and I visiting. It was after the collapse of the industry. We're going back to 2008 era. Cynthia and I have known each other for many a years, please, since like 2000 or something. My goodness, for a while. Cynthia and I were talking about investment properties, real estate. The market has shifted now. And we were talking about strategies. What's possible now because this happened? Scott, what are your thoughts? I'm like, Cynthia, what are yours? And she and I played with great ideas together. And then Cynthia reaches out to me on the following Monday and said, Scott, I had so much fun examining those. The market has shifted so much right now. I think it's timely. I think we should do a show with you talking about financial matters, inspiring people to rebuild the story because of a market's collapse as an opportunity. And Cynthia invited me to Florida. I flew to Florida. I'll never forget this. I said at the beginning, and now I'm going to share what I meant, that sometimes beautiful people come into your lives to touch you, to redirect you, to realign you to your inner passion, and to allow you to see it again so you can get back on that passion horse. Cynthia did that for me. Cynthia tickled my shoulder that next Monday. And this was after a market collapse. I had physically collapsed before the market did. For those listening, I've not really gone into that, but I was on chemo and what have you. It was a really rough space in my life at the time. And then my industry fell apart. Everything that I loved and understood of who I was no longer available. Not that version, at least. It was up to me to find a new version. And I was dealing with my strongest level of adult depression during that same window of time. I had so many layers compounding, and many of us did. And I was visiting, as I shared with you, Cynthia. The phone call led to an invitation that next Monday. Scott, I'd love to do a television show. I'd love to produce a show for you. You're the right host. Scott, I love it. Come to Florida. Let's play with some camera stuff. Let's grab some stuff. And I flew myself to Florida. I was so excited. Oh my gosh, everybody. I was like, here's a path. I can get off the couch. I can get off. I have a purpose again. Yes, I love doing this. I had all those inner thoughts, everybody. I'm jumping in the airplane, flying from the desert I was in my desert house, and I flew to Florida to visit with Cynthia. She was there at the time. And, I'll never forget. Oh, wow. Cynthia pulls out the camera. Everybody, this is crazy. It's so true. Cynthia pulls out the camera.
Wait,
and she goes,
yeah. Let me tell a little
us,
bit of
please.
this part. I had this camera set up, tripod, lighting, everything was set up,
Yes.
mic, everything. I thought, well, Scott is such a charismatic person. Of course, this is going to be fantastic. I gave him a prep. I ran over what we were going to be talking about, how I wanted him to do it. And all of a sudden I do the countdown, 3, 2, 1. And it was
just like it is
nothing.
now, silence.
It was just nothing. Complete silence. It was the definition of a deer caught in headlights in front of a camera. And that was Scott Griffin. He was a deer caught in headlights, completely blank, just stared.
Just stared. I couldn't get past it. Not for anything. I couldn't say my name. I couldn't dance. I couldn't wiggle. I froze. Literally froze. And Cynthia would shut it all down and come back and then, okay, let's sit down. Let's regroup. It's okay, Scott.
We went to the Waffle House. We had some pancakes. We took a walk on the beach and we tried it again. Blank. Nothing. Soon as the camera went, nothing.
Literally.
I thought, okay, let's try a walk and talk instead. Maybe if I get him moving. We tried that. Nothing. Could hardly get him to say, I'm Scott Griffin. It was like,
I was really upset at myself, Cynthia. I was so upset at myself, and I could not become unfrozen. And I'll never forget. And then you took away all of that equipment so it would feel softer. And then you tried just a camcorder. Let's try just a camcorder. Let's see if you can visit with that. And I couldn't. It was no easier than the other equipment. And then Cynthia says to me, she goes, Scott, it's okay, honey. And then she and I just went shopping. And so it just became a shopping trip. And that was obviously not going to work. And pushing it further just meant we're just going to, no. So we just turned the event. We just had fun, and I flew home. Everybody, this was my birthday. I'll never forget this day in my life. Cynthia, gorgeous Cynthia. She goes, Scott, I haven't changed my mind. I said, what do you mean, Cynthia? Scott, I already know you're the right host. We're going to do the show. I already know you. All I need you to do is get out of your mind. Scott, the reason you froze up is because you were too much in your mind about how you sound, how you look, how. I need you to quit all of that and just be you. You are everything I already need to be. And I wasn't available yet. And Cynthia goes, Scott, I'll never forget this. Please, everybody, listen to these gorgeous words. These are for you. They made life changes for me. May they do the same for you through Cynthia. And Cynthia said to me, she goes, Scott, it's not unusual that you're not yet camera comfortable. You've never been in front of one before. And what I witness is not unusual either. That let me know you were inside your head. There are acting classes, Scott, that are available that will help you to get out of your head so you can be present for what we're going to do together, because you're going to be terrific once we get to that moment. Scott, and she went on further, everybody. These beautiful people will enter your life, I promise. Be available when they tap the shoulder. Allow opportunity to be accessible. She taps my shoulder. Team, at this point in my life, allow me. Summary format only. My body shut down in February of 07. The industry shut down on August 17th of 07. These conversations we're having now is 2008. I shared with you I was the most depressed version of who my adult self was. By this point, I've liquidated all of my assets. They're done. I have houses that I own that were investments now in foreclosure. All of the tools that used to work were removed. Even my joy, my deep depression was bolder than my joy was at the time. And I sold my car. I only had $18,000 left to my name at that time. It was the money I sold my car for. And you would think I should get my ass back to work, huh? What am I doing having these thoughts about being a television host? Well, it goes on further. Cynthia goes further in her email to me, so gorgeous. She goes, Scott, I think you should take an acting course in New York City, she says. Not just an acting course. No. Miss Cynthia says, Scott, it needs to be in New York City. We're going to film there, you know. And she says to me, it'll help you to become somebody new faster. I said, what do you mean, Cynthia? She goes to me, she goes, Scott, because now we move from email to conversation because I had to call her immediately. Scott, it's whenever you go to the grocery store, whenever you're driving, going to your friends, everybody has known you and you've known yourself as Scott Griffin, the mortgage professional. And when you run into somebody, they're going to have conversations in that spirit. I need you to see yourself as Scott Griffin, a television host. And it's going to be much easier for you to get there if you can be around people that don't know you. It'll be easier to reinvent yourself in a brand new city. And New York is a great space to be trained at a very high level. Scott, New York training is going to be different than what you probably will find in LA training. And it'll be so powerful to help you to go beyond where you are. And Cynthia, that was your day's invitation. Everybody listening, please. I flew home. This was the very next morning's email, Cynthia said to me. What was that, everybody? That's your beautiful angel letting you know hope is not shut down. Keep believing. I believe in you, Cynthia said. I'll go on further. Cynthia said, Scott Griffin, you know I brought out many people in industry and people that you're very familiar with, as well as television shows, wickedly successful. Scott Griffin, you're going to be one of those. In fact, Scott, you're going to be one of the biggest. Scott, there's going to be a time where there's going to be people surrounding you and we're going to have to keep them away so you can walk past a crowd. That opportunity is yours once you step into it. I know it. I see it. And that was a person giving me hope into something I didn't see. But that hope led me to take an action. The very next morning, everybody, I Google searched acting schools in New York City.
And let's also remember that you've never lived in New York before.
Never, ever. I don't know a soul. I know a soul, but I never lived there ever. And I was broke, everybody. They're foreclosing my house, the one I was living in. It was in foreclosure process. I only had the $18,000 left. Cynthia's telling me, Scott, you should go to acting school in New York City. And I had, okay. And then I go Google searching an acting school and I found New York Film Academy. I'll never forget this. And they had an acting boot camp starting September, the very next week, Monday. And this is my birthday's August 29th. So this was the following Monday, right after. And I called to sign up for it. And it was about $3,500. And I called Cynthia the next day and told her what I found and how much it cost. And Cynthia said, Scott, that sounds terrific. Sounds a little expensive. You should audit the class. And when I called the class, everybody, listen to this. There were no seats available. The entire class for that boot camp was already sold and closed out. They were selling the seats for the October's class. And I wanted September because Cynthia said we're shooting a show. And I wanted to be in that show. And I thought to myself, fabulous, Cynthia. It's a 30-day boot camp. I'll be all ready for the camera right after we're done with the 30 days. And that was my self-belief that I self-created, even though I had no tools, everybody. Are you hearing that? I did not live there. I have $18,000 to my name and I had 2 dogs and I was living in a house that was under foreclosure. Okay, let's keep going. The class had no open seats. Cynthia says, Scott, go audit the LA class. I believe New York Film Academy has an LA campus. Call the New York Film Academy, Scott, and see if you can audit a class, sit in on a class and make sure it feels right for you. And that was great advice. So this is now, everybody, please. Monday was the email. Tuesday was the research. Wednesday was my conversation. And Thursday was my invitation to audit the class in LA. I'm driving down the freeway from Palm Springs to LA. I enter the 101, for those familiar, from the 10 to the 101. And as I entered the 101, Cynthia, I picked up the telephone. I called Delta Airlines that minute. That whole drive, I sold myself that this was going to work. And I didn't care what the kids said. They're in the class because they want to be successful. And I knew I wanted to be successful. So I bought a one-way ticket, everybody, to New York City Saturday morning to be available to be in the class on Monday that had no open seats while I was driving to audit the class. I actually absolutely did that. And then I arrived to the LA campus, already purchased my one-way ticket, not round trip, one way ticket to New York City for Saturday. And I go to the campus and I was right. The kids were freaking having a blast. I was having a blast. Everything seemed right to me. I came right home and I called Cynthia and I told her, I love it. I love it. I want it. And his name is Matt. His name is Matt. Thank you, Matt, at New York Film Academy. I love you, friend. Thank you for being so beautiful for a beautiful person who needed somebody neat. Matt was a man I met that day at New York Film Academy again on the phone. And I told him about how much I enjoyed the LA campus, the kids, the courses, and how I saw my success in their education program, and how I already had a producer wanting to produce a show for me, and how important it was for me to get into the class quickly. Family, please. Remember, we said no is the beginning to yes. This man said no on Wednesday. There were no seats. Friday, there was a seat all of a sudden. Scott Griffin had a seat for the Monday's class beginning. My friend Jason reached out to me and said, Scott, I have a Brooklyn apartment, 2-bedroom. I'm out of town for over 2 weeks. Scott, you can have my bedroom. Then my other friend John called and said, Scott, I live in New York. I'm going to cry. And they said that you can have my bedroom. And here's what I've learned. You're not responsible for how. You're responsible for want. Live in your want event and allow the how to be discovered. I wanted to be successful on the invitation Cynthia was giving to produce me and to be on a television show, and I wasn't successful on my own yet. And I just believed. And I bought an airline ticket and I got into a class. And team, do you know what I've learned? I've learned that you can't learn a new craft in 30 days. I was no better on day 30 than I was on day 1. And I got invited to a different acting class and I ended up doing so many cool things, everybody, in New York City. I stayed there a whole year. And I learned I wasn't ready yet to be an actor, is what I learned. It wasn't at the root yet for me. I didn't see the same path Cynthia did for me, but that's not completely true. I stayed there a whole year. There was such an incredible journey in New York, and Cynthia never left my side, never stopped believing in who she saw I am. She always had the vision of who I become today. Just took me many years to find the space she already saw in me. And, I just love you, Cynthia. Thank you. And everybody, I'm sharing all of this with you. Why? Because it worked. How? Because when I got the airline ticket and I got the seat in the class, I had a house. I had 2 dogs. What's going to happen to the dogs? I called the gentleman. His name's David. And I asked him, would he watch my house for a month? He's the same guy that I met at Toastmasters that watched it while I was at Cynthia's in Florida. He house sat for 3 days. And I asked him, what would you think about 4 weeks? And he said, yeah. And that's part of the how do you do it story, right? And if I was asking a whole bunch of how do you do it, I never would have done it. Right? How do I get somebody to watch my house? How do I take care of the dogs? How will I afford it? How will I be? Too many questions. Want will unlock what you want to have. Cynthia, you're proof every day of that.
Well, thanks. Well, you're beautiful, Scott. That's just the most heartwarming and most beautiful story. I think the most important part of all of that, really, our conversations, your actions, etc., is just to say, take one day at a time. Just build it. If you're in a really bad place, just take the next hour and plan that, or do something productive within that hour. Then stretch it to a day, a week, a month, a year. And life doesn't all happen all at once. And for you, it's look at what you're doing now. You're doing a podcast. You're on television. You're doing everything that we talked about years ago. It really is. But back when those years when it felt as though, why isn't it happening? I think the idea is it is happening. Even if it doesn't feel like it's happening, it is happening. It's just so long as you do something about it every day, every other week. I mean, no one's on that schedule other than your actions. So as long as you're doing something towards it, and it's okay to go off the road a little bit here and there for sure, because we all have to. We have to feed ourselves. We have to put a roof over our heads, and all of that matters as well. But it does happen so long as you stay on the path. Well, that's my takeaway from so much of it. You're still exactly the same person I met years ago. You really are. And it hasn't changed what I think. And I'm just so proud of, if I can be proud, I don't think it wasn't up to me, really. It was all you. So you should be proud of yourself. Let's put it that way. And I'm just so happy to see where you are.
Well, you know what? And that's what I said earlier. Beautiful people enter our life every day. And some are extra special. And those are life's beautiful moments to give a hug and hold them forever. And that's surely what we've done together. And please, you know what I love about Cynthia? She, a producer, constantly producing. What Cynthia produces is greatness in others. And she produces great shows. She produces incredible television. Do you know what else she produces? Incredible theater. She is a producer, and one of the best. And she recently, please, Cynthia, I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything. You got me so excited. Okay. I hope I don't get in trouble. I know you're announcing, and I just don't know when we air versus your announcement. If I'm early, then yay. You have a brand new show coming to New York, if I'm correct.
Oh, yeah. And your apps. Thank you so much for bringing it up. And yes, please shout it to the world. I am so excited. I was just going to see a show where an actress who I have known for quite a long time and really have felt her passion and struggles over the years. She has worked so hard, and like so many actors, she got a little pigeonholed, I think, because Hollywood has a tendency, sorry, Hollywood, but come on, let's admit it. We do have this tendency to almost pigeonhole people. We see them in one role and we keep wanting to repeat them in the same role. And that was kind of a little bit of Tasha Gates' story. And she's from Montana, a small town called Anaconda, population 9,811. If you can wrap your head around that one. Being a New Yorker, that seems like, I don't know, not even an apartment building full of people. But anyway, Tasha has worked her butt off, if I can say, for so long, following her dream of being a successful actress. And her passion made her decide she had to make those roles for herself. She was being pigeonholed into the kind of blonde, you know, sort of stereotypical, not really active in whatever show it was, but sort of more like the person who sat at the desk and looked pretty. So she saw a a role that she really wanted, and she realized she had to make it happen for herself. So she pulled this together. Actually, I can't take a lot of credit for the actual contents of the show. She pulled it together. It is written by Tony and Oscar winning writer John Patrick Shanley. It's called Danny and the Deep Blue Sea. She brought her friend James Little, actor James Little from LA, to Montana, where they put it on in her hometown of Anaconda, Montana. And I happened to be one of the 26 people in the audience. That's how small this was. I drove 2 hours out there. I was already in Montana. I took the long drive just to see her because I've known her and I believe in her and I wanted to support her. Okay, here's the crazy part, which I know I don't want to get into anything dark, but that day, as in that morning of the performance, there was a shooting in Anaconda. And so the show almost didn't go on. This is how crazy. I mean, just like Ryan Gosling had to take over last minute for young Hercules because the lead actor pulled out, this show almost didn't go on because there happened to be this tragic, terrible thing happen that morning. But Tasha decided to just lock the doors of the theater, put it on anyway. 26 people, myself being one of them. This show, which was a little over an hour, that's it. It rocked me to the core. I could not believe how this show affected me. It's about just two actors. It's about two people who are damaged individuals. We all are somewhere inside. We're not perfect people. And they meet in a bar. They're just strangers. At first, they just have disdain for each other, really, like, leave me alone. And somehow the energy of each one kind of triggers the other one to react because their damage seems to kind of oddly fit like weird puzzle pieces. And they're drawn little by little to each other through hate and like, and they just can't seem to figure this out. Somehow, as the show progresses, they each realize, or they don't even realize it. I think it's the audience that realizes that they each possess the correct instinct from their damaged backgrounds to sort of bring out the other one. And ultimately, their instincts help each other heal. And they come together in a wildly chaotic, tangled mess of damage and dysfunction and hopes and dreams and love and fantasy. And magically, at the end, we all believe in life again.
I love it. I love it. And so you saw it there and you just were moved beyond, because I remember, and you decided this needs a much bigger audience. This story needs to be shared. This play is going much further. And you pick that thing up, and here you are, you're bringing it to New York. So it launches in December. Can you tell us where, for our friends listening in New York, where can they see your great show?
They can see it. They can see it at the Sargent Theater, 314 West 54th Street, December 5, 6, and 7. Showtimes are at 7 o'clock. And I will be posting on social media. My YouTube channel and my Instagram are Your Hollywood Dream. And I will be posting the links to tickets there. And I hope if you're listening and you want a story about how we can forgive ourselves and how we can come together and help each other as human beings, please come out and see the show.
Oh, wow. Yeah, everything you touch, Cynthia, is incredible. And I mean it. And everything is a strong word, but I'm using it. I'm grabbing it. I'm using it ever since I've known you, Cynthia. Every project you've adopted has become significant. And so I'm excited to see your play. You've just given me an excuse to head out to New York once again. And, as I shared with you, I was in New York from your great guidance. What I didn't share to all of our listeners is that New York stint, Cynthia taught me to go out there and keep doing like Cynthia's doing, bringing people great shows, great things. She told me to get out there too. And this is for you listening. Get out there. Go out, follow your dream. Let people see your passion. Cynthia told me, she goes, Scott, it's time for you now to go on auditions. Well, I did. And she told me to go work with different casting agencies and others. So you Hollywood dreamers watching us, remember, you're going to find Cynthia at Your Hollywood Dream. Is that also a .com, Cynthia, Your Hollywood Dream?
They can email me at info@yourhollywooddream.com. It's a YouTube channel and Instagram
You're going to love it, everybody. Her channels are huge. You'll see how many followers she has. Oh my God, it keeps growing. It is amazing, Cynthia. Your content is incredible. For those Hollywood dreamers in life, Cynthia is the one you want to know. She knows the secrets. She is the producers. She is the one. In fact, so much so UCLA has asked her for many years to come teach courses for them. And Cynthia has finally said yes. I've taken one of Cynthia's courses, by the way. For those of you who ever get an exquisite chance to sign up for one, you're going to have one of the best courses. Cynthia, you're an incredible mentor. You're a communicator that allows direction to be understood, and you inspire people to take life challenges and to step into full belief. You are the epitome of believing bolder. You live a life full of richness. Even if life brings darkness, you find the beauty inside of it. I love who you are. Cynthia, please, for our listeners, as we close out this amazing segment, can you give us one piece of advice? There are so many dreamers out there dreaming to find their space in Hollywood. Cynthia, if there's one piece of grand advice they should know, what might that be, please?
I think it's staying true to who you are and also aligning yourself with like-minded people. Find a community that is similar and complements you, and try to cultivate relationships that will ultimately come together and bring your dreams to life. Because although we dream on our own a lot, but these dreams come true when we actually put people together, because a lot of our dreams are big projects, and big projects come with a lot of people usually. So not to sort of forget that that's part of it. So build a community, build some relationships and friendships, and keep those dreams alive between yourselves together. And then those dreams can come true a lot faster, as well as in such a happier, more fulfilling way.
Wow. Gosh, Cynthia, I just adore you. Thank you so much for joining us. And please, for all of our wonderful listeners, come join us. Come join us. You'll meet me in person. You'll get to meet Cynthia, I'm sure, in person. We'll both be in New York City, December 5th through the 8th, and I will be there at 7 p.m. watching this incredible play you're bringing to New York City. And we're going to be on 54th Street, everybody. Well, that's right. Right in the heartbeat of New York is where we're going to go have fun. I'm there. Cynthia, I can't wait. I'm so grateful you're here, and I mean it in a deep way. It's the people that Cynthia just said, right? She said so much today. But that gorgeous piece, you become more who you are by those you surround yourself. Surround yourself with other dreamers. It's why I love LA. This is the city of dreamers. You become more of who you are by living next door to them. Cynthia, thank you for what you inspire in life. Incredible.
Thank you, Scott.
You're the things.
We're very much alike. You inspire all the time, too. So thank you for all of your wonderful inspiration over the years as well.
Well, I love it. And you know what else I love? I love you tuning in. Why? Because this is how we get a chance in life to share inspirations for others. I've learned more of us are more capable of becoming something different than we were when we see other people doing it also. And as I close out that statement, allow me to tell you what I mean. Tell you what this little Scott Griffin frozen the camera did that little 1 year in New York. Not only did I come back, but Cynthia convinced me to go out there and go casting. And I did it. And I got onto 30 Rock in a very odd way. I also got casted for a national a movie premiere that was coming out. I flew home back to Arizona, and 30 Rock called me back, wanted me to put me back into their show. And I started as an extra. I didn't stay extra long, but my heart was somewhere different. And I turned the opportunity of 30 Rock down. And it was really cool. And that was also on my birthday, everybody. And why? Follow your dream. Wherever your dream takes you on your life, it belongs to you. Every dream looks different for all of us. And it's okay to have a different one later. We go once in these bodies. For me, I want to explore what life will allow me to have. And I've learned that most of the restrictions are self-created. Just believe, focus on want, allow the how to show up. And all of a sudden, there you go. And yes, you are. And you find beautiful people to help you on the path. Thank you again for joining us today. We'd love it if you'd share us with your friends. We'd love it if you'd give us a 5-star review. It really helps others find us on the podcast. And Cynthia and I sure have loved to see you today. We absolutely can't wait to see you in New York. What a fun time to be there. December, New York City. You know what? Look, I'm getting goose pimples again because I already know how much fun we're all going to have. And we're going to see an incredible play. Cynthia, how do we get our tickets? Because we better get them quickly. I'm going to get mine now. Where am I going?
There's a link that will be set up this weekend. So I don't know if there's a way to share it with your... Okay.
Oh, 100%, everybody. How can you join us if I don't show you how to get here?
I know, that's true. It will be a link. We're just putting some finishing images onto the link. And then it'll be ready.
I was ahead of things. I told you,
yeah,
everybody,
a little ahead, but that's okay.
You.
No, you are. It's just, that's all it is. We're trying to put the finishing images in there so that when you click on it, you know what you're looking at. So it'll be in there by this weekend, and I'll have it for you. I'll send it to you for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I can't wait to see you in our next episode. Bye.